Welcome to the Poetic Moment with me, Tony, the poet. It's another episode of this moment. Yeah, and Poetic Moment, we share some inspirational poem and also express some of the wounds that people have gone through. And that today, I have a special guest. And she's going to share with some of us some of the greatest poem, inspiring love, laughter, as well as a form of a healing process. Talking about healing branches, I think we can start off this session to talk about healing because most of us are wounded from some things that happen to us, and especially the wounds that are hard to heal are the wounds that have been afflicted upon your life by those that you love the most. A boyfriend, a husband, a friend, those that are closest to your heart that betrayed you. Now, at the same time, within our lives, we have to be the healing branches. Because the true healing doesn't come externally, but comes from the interior. Searching within your soul, within yourself. Going to certain places that can calm your mind and calm your spirit. Doing some form of meditation. Speaking to people who actually can help you and massage maybe that wounded part. The dangerous part of our lives is when we refuse to be healed. True healing, especially from the inside, it is a personal journey and a personal battle. Once in a while, you're going to fall into some triggers. Things that can trigger what happened to your life. And things that, somehow. Or people, Now, here's the thing. Keeping hatred can be a burden, a very heavy burden. Talking about healing branches. There are so many people going to say so many things. But what I can tell you is that you can't heal from what you avoid. Sometimes the best way of healing is to confront certain demons inside ourselves, certain dark sides in our closets, the skeleton that you don't want to face. We can pretend in front of people, you put on the makeup, your hair, your clothes, and but literally inside it's not good. So healing. Some of us as poets, musicians, they have used this channel as a form of healing process. As a channel or an outlet. Writing down, reciting a poem, listening to some things. But they'll find some kind of channels that are very positive, that brings about healing. Now, whether you are sick physically, emotionally, or spiritually, I'll tell you, external help, external medicine can just do a little bit. Because the reality is, the greatest power of healing is inside you. But you got to open that chest and face it. Then, that is the only way you can be a healing branch to others. Now, you normally see a tree. When one branch is kind of rotten and is not producing fruits, we cut it off from the society. So, John Maxwell says hurting people hurt people. So we might throw some people in prison because they are hurting and they are hurting others. So you really want to be healed. Language and words. What does it mean to you, language and words?
I think if we have to look down in history, the great I am, those are the most powerful words I think anyone can say. I am. You speak into existence. God spoke into existence. In the beginning, the Word was with God. God was the Word. So I think a lot of the time people...
You know, if you were in church, I would say you're a prophet. I'm busy with a book called I Am. So I wonder where you stand up. Like you're really on identity. Yeah. I'm busy with that book.
So if you can identify how God spoke and how He used the prophets and normal people to speak, what are you saying? Who are you saying it to? And you can go to a point where you study it, where there's English literature, which I did study. And I fell in love with words. I loved reading, I loved writing from a small age. But I was very careful to observe how I speak, to who I speak, and what tone. Many times people don't know their tone. And you learn that through, drama, you learn that through English literature. But language is very important. And not just the English language, but our languages, our traditional languages, our indigenous languages. We need to hold on to that identity.
Talking about the languages, someone says, watch the words of this generation, you understand the direction that we are moving into. Because words create culture, and words create life and behavior. Now, you are in love with words as a poet, as a relics, and in linguistic and all holes. Now, when you look at what word that is so profound for you that each time you see it written anywhere, you like, stop, wait. What word? Any word.
Mercy.
Mercy.
Yeah.
Why is that word important?
Mercy. It sounds like a name. I think it's a beautiful name.
Yeah, they do call it
Mercy. But I think also what it means to me.
Okay.
Because it represents empathy, compassion, but it also represents a new start, divine favor. Yeah. So I believe when I am inspired by a poem, or my poetry is inspired by the Word of God. So I would open and I'd be like, oh, God wants me to talk about this, you know? And then I'll have to formulate it. That is the great thing, and I need mercy to be able to formulate that.
Wow.
Yeah. So you have to have that, you have to be subordinate, you know, you have to be a little bit down, humble, and mercy shall carry you through.
Carry you through.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. The humble shall be exalted, and the proud shall be broken down into destruction. Now, let's talk about the piece you're going to give me first.
Well, this poem I wrote in London. I wrote this when I was sitting at a Burger King.
Oh, okay.
It's called Kiss Kiss. And this was the very first poem I wrote. And I saw these two people kissing.
Okay.
And I think I was like 12 or something.
Yeah.
So, but it was the first time I saw people like, you know, choling. Like, not like, but you know, like, So I couldn't understand these people like sticking their tongues in each other. So I just looked and I started scribbling down my thoughts. And I remember I had like a strawberry milkshake.
Yeah.
So I just saw how intense this kissing session was. And here I was observing it. And I just wrote what I felt
At that moment.
about that observation. So Kiss Kiss was my very first poem. It's one that it's very short, very sweet, but it doesn't just talk about the physical act of kissing, but it's more of a connection you make with someone, you know, and where we spoke with words, so we are kissing someone, and where the words come from the mouth. Yeah. So it's very intimate, it's a little bit, people actually said I'm a little bit seductive, or a little bit, you know, provocative, but I think using that moment of kiss kiss, it made me more open to other senses, touch, smell, sight, sound, yeah.
Kiss kiss.
Kiss.
Poetic moment. Lady Black. Let's take that one.
Kiss, kiss, like some bliss you and I miss. Kiss me, even though we're not meant to be, your kisses shall set me free. Your kiss is so wet, if only you will let me feel your lips beautiful like some kind of eclipse. Let my tongue slither along yours, let my lips trigger against yours. But of course, if only you will kiss, kiss like some bliss, you and I really shall miss.
Welcome back to the Poetic Moment with Tony the Poet. Kiss, kiss. Lady Black. There is something that I think our viewers and young poets out there, they're going to learn from you. Tell me, when you wrote it, and how did you break it down? Because it's, every word and every feeling, I felt it. How do you do that magic?
You imagine, how does a kiss trigger against your literal lips? You know, it really is about invading of spaces, because now we are in such an intimate setting, right? Yes. So now we're kissing, but how deep and how slow and how fast. And I think it's a dance. Every relationship is a dance.
It's a dance.
Yeah, you learn, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, this is how we'll go this way, we'll go that way. But it requires both of us to dance the same dance of love. So when I really, in that moment of seeing those two people together, they were in conjunction with each other, they were at one with each other, and they kissed. They were one, and even though I was not there, I think I was just the fly on the wall, you know.
Yeah. There was this.
I don't even know if they know I wrote that poem about them, but yeah, it was for me just because at that time, remember, I was 12. I had no boyfriend. I've never been kissed that way, so I think it was also a yearning, you know. It was a yearning.
Now, there's something you're good at. I was talking to the younger poets earlier about diction, your pronunciation and how you parse your words was so perfect, and everything fell in place at a very precise time with a precise feeling. Tell me from the moment, how do you rehearse for you to get to that point?
I have to get myself back into the moment when I wrote that poem. And it's all about not rushing it, especially, you see, it's a very short poem. So there are pauses that need to be done. There are where I looked at the camera. There were points where I used my hand, you know. I have to thank my lecturers for that. UNAM was a big part of that, because that's where I started drama. So you learn that as part of your craft.
Yes.
But most importantly for me, like I said, if you read and you write, and if there's not a word you don't understand, keep the dictionary there, go through words and fall in love with words, fall in love with different ways of saying things. Yeah, so, and I'm fortunate, I went to a good school. I can speak German, I can speak English, Damara a little bit, so I'm also mixed. But it's very important to pause and just listen and make that message come across as clearly as you want it to. And take your time. Yeah.
But there's this perfect way how you match words with feelings. So when you know, when you get into that, do you normally have an imagination of some kind of intimacy to, you know?
Yeah, I definitely go back to that place. Because I want you to, you have to be authentic to the experience. I do not write about anything that I have not experienced, because then I would just be, then I wouldn't be true to myself.
Yes.
So when I do write about kissing, I will go back to a moment where I felt that intense passion, I felt that intense vulnerability.
Yes.
And I think that's the thing about poetry, you need to be able to be vulnerable with your art, but at the same time carry the strength of your message. Yeah.
Wow. Now we're going to be looking into the second piece. So what is the second piece? What is the title and what are we looking at?
This one is untitled. It's actually a continuation. So Kiss Kiss was written when I was 14, 15, 16.
Oh.
And this one was written when I was 21, 22. But it felt like I was writing about the same thing or the same person or the same experience. But it has to do with love.
Okay.
It has to do with two people coming together into a space. But this one is a little bit more where I use English literature. I use different like alliteration. I use oxymorons, so that I was a better writer. I was a better speaker. So this one is more a detailed experience. So let's say these two people that kissed, ne? So they went home, ne? And magic happened. And then at the end of the day, there was like a deciding moment. And you will hear at the end of the poem that there is a definite end to. And it is a correlation, but it's the beginning and the start and the end of something. Yeah.
Wow. Let's go into the next piece with Lady Black, Poetic Moment, Tony the Poet. Let's take it.
Mad kisses exchanged as we cradled in each other's embrace. All expulsion from the physicality, we shared a moment of insanity. Could it be possibly that you to I would charge the catastrophe? Am I simply the fool trying to act all cool when I know that soon all my dreams will be doomed? Our conclusions only cause contradictions, revealing the frictions that were formed during sessions of confessions. Just gazing into your cold soul had me feeling all crazy and dizzy. Repetitions of me being your baby made me feel so goddamn sexy. But maybe, just maybe, what we shared was a fantasy. A crazy ecstasy that I pray will one day be a reality. A crazy fantasy that I pray will one day be a reality.
Welcome back to Untitled, Poetic Moment, Tony the Poet. I'm with my special friend today, Lady Black.
Yes, thank you for having me again. I'm having so much fun.
Great.
I'm having so much fun.
Great.
Yes.
We are looking at, you have been with spoken word for a long time. You have been doing this for quite a while. And are you not thinking of maybe there are several, so to say, I don't know which number to use, but there are people out there who would want to venture into poetry. Don't you normally think of sometimes sitting down and gather some young people and mentor them?
That is such an important part for me, because with poetry comes motivational speaking. I know you've also done motivational speaking. Yes. So you find a lot of people, maybe they're going through something and they use words or they write, you know, and they maybe don't want to perform their own work, but you can let someone else use your work. But whatever helps you to function, whatever makes sense to you, do that. For me personally, I want to go into where I work with young kids. I really have a passion for the disadvantaged. I know that most people don't have it easy, you know. But art has really helped me, not only with depression, you know, but it has also helped me to change the course of my life. So if you are passionate about something and you know you are good at it, and you have to have self-confidence, you have to believe in yourself, you have to. Kanye West is a little bit extreme, but I mean, he does have that confidence, and people listen, you know? So you have to put yourself out there and you have to expose yourself. You might feel vulnerable, you might feel scared, you might feel you're not good enough, maybe your English is not that good, or maybe your words are not as pretty and as grandeur, you know? But start small, and I think earlier a fellow poet of mine was speaking about you need to undig those dreams, and you need to know that the land is being prepared for you. But you have to sow your seeds, water it, and watering it is through faith.
Wow. Thank you so much. You were talking about this one word that comes to mind that is very strong, that people are often scared of: vulnerability. Now, when you think of the people that inspire us, the Oprah Winfrey, and all these great guys, they were courageous enough to be vulnerable, to talk about, they were molested, whatever happened to them. And somehow, I think when you are vulnerable to expose yourself, you open up a platform for other people to come in. Because now there will be masses. All of us human beings, we are not perfect. We have flaws. And then we are wounded in one way or the other. So if I see there is a platform where somebody I can look up to, they open up about their wounds, it gives me courage as well to come up and say, I was also wounded. So I'm thinking, how is it important for poets or other writers or just people in general to be vulnerable enough to say, okay, this is what it is?
Personally speaking, I was sexually abused. I was raped when I was very young. And
how old was that?
I was 12, 13. So at that point, I had nowhere to go. Obviously, I had psychologists and pastors. But when I saw that blank page, when I saw that pen and that blank page, I was in control of my destiny. I was in control of my power. I reclaimed it, So we all go through things, but I cannot write about something I don't know about. Being vulnerable, some people are like, it's the same old story. But one day, I remember I had a powerful experience where after my performance, a whole group of ladies surrounded me and gave me a hug. And they were like, I also went through it. Oh, I also went through it. Oh, I also went through it. So I realized I'm not the only one. Yes. I'm not alone. So your experience, whether it's traumatic, whether it's heartbreaking, God can use it to turn other people's lives around. But it can also be your breakthrough and your deliverance and your healing. At this point, I've forgiven, I've moved on. I know my future husband is out there.
Wow.
But you have to honestly go to that point where you are real, authentic.
Yes.
And that's the only way people will relate to you. And you are not a victim. I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor. And that's the way, victorious in Christ. Yeah.
Wow.
So keep on moving forward. Yeah.
Great. That was a poetic moment with Lady Black. And it's me, Tony the Poet. Until then, keep well. Stay tuned.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
As we are concluding on this poetic moment with me, Tony the Poet, I just want to remind you that it's a process. It's a battle. We have to actually go through healing and become the healing branches to our community. That will be great. Make sure that wherever you are, you become a healing branch. And then I'm going to conclude this episode with a poem from a local poet, Prince K. He just wrote a book, Poems, and there's a piece in it, and it's entitled, I Am a Legendary. And there's some things I think he says about healing and hurting, being a legendary. If you can receive verbal blows from character assassins and even allow them to see you rise like truth to a lie, make them swallow their own words like one eating humble pie, live to tell a story whose end is the beginning of wisdom. Even when faced with doubting Thomases and evil witches, get ready to live within the eyes of the storm and its thumbs. Every word has a sound, but not every sentence has sense. Noise cannot get crushed muses to pass as music to the ear. Day after day, new light is shared, a new understanding born, a man armed with soul power survives the darkest dark, revealing in time the face of God, gone astray in the flesh. Yours truly has followed that mortal timeline. I am the legendary. becoming the healing branches, overcoming all hurts, spears of words and bullets of hatred that have gone through you. Just heal and become a healing branch. That was a poem from Prince K, from his book, Anthology of Poems. You want to get more of local materials, just go to the National Library, try to find these guys wherever they can be found. But there's so much beautiful materials from the local poets. And it's me again, until we meet again on the next bus. Tony the Poet on the Poetic Moment.